on my radar.
All right, you guys, you got me now. Let's give me a thumbs up. Okay, I hear their sound. Nice. 6:41 p.m., you guys, on the eve of Labor Day. I'm meteorologist Leslie Hudson for My Radar. Listen, let me just real quickly say sorry and thank you for sticking with us with all these technical issues. We are trying to get infrastructure in place so we can offer you the best coverage as we await Dorian's imminent approach to the state of Florida. So we've been trying different technologies in the background to give you the best tools for tomorrow and Tuesday and moving forward into next week. So again, apologies that we haven't had a live update in a couple hours. I know Mike Linden and meteorologist Stephanie Lauber have been updating social media. So I believe we're good to go. And let me get to a couple of things. A lot of things have changed as 5 p.m. A lot of warnings now and watches issued for the state of Florida in the event that Dorian makes more of a jog towards the west than anticipated. So a live camera there is from the port in Nassau. Of course, that is in the central Bahamas, not the northwestern Bahamas, where Abaco and the Abaco Islands have been crushed by this catastrophic hurricane. I don't know if some of you all have seen some of the video that's come out of there, but it's very reminiscent of the Hurricane Michael video you saw in the Florida Panhandle last year. The storm surge easily 20 feet. Many areas are underwater, and some of the videos were showing people on rooftops begging for help. It's just absolutely heartbreaking to see that video. That area of the world is going to need a lot of help in the coming days. So I hope that folks will help the wonderful residents in the Bahama Islands, because they definitely are going to need it coming up very soon. All right, so let me switch over. This is another camera. This is over in the Atlantis area, the Paradise Island camera. And again, dark skies there, but there has not been a ton of activity there because, of course, they are. Hang on, you guys. Okay, there we go. They are further away from the center of circulation, and of course Dorian is forecast to continue to move towards the west. So here's a look at the watches and warnings. Of course, there is a tropical storm watch up for many inland parts of Central Florida and parts of South Florida. You can see those areas shaded in brown, and that includes Martin County. It looks like St. Lucie County and inland up by Lake Okeechobee, including the metro areas of Orlando. And then there is a hurricane warning up for Brevard County as well as Indian River County, and there is a hurricane watch that's up for Volusia County, which is where Daytona Beach is. So a lot of things changed because this hurricane got so powerful today, and a historic hurricane. We've never seen a hurricane this powerful interact with the northwestern Bahamas ever. So already in the history books, this one. And of course, the major concern is how it's just impacting those islands today and tomorrow, and then what will it bring to the state of Florida potentially here shortly thereafter. So as we continue to unpack some of this, let me show you the eye here on the infrared, and the National Hurricane Center talked about the stadium effect. I talked about that yesterday. You only see those in top end Cat 4 or Cat 5 hurricanes, that stadium effect, where there's this extremely powerful eye wall and hurricane, and the eye wall itself, as the top of these storms blow off, the mid-level winds there shear off the top of those clouds and create what looks like a stadium effect, or like this V at the top. There's some pictures on social media, I think, that Mike put on our page of inside of the eye from one of the hurricane aircraft, and you can actually see what that stadium effect looks like. It's really impressive to see, but really scary to see too. So Marsh Harbor, of course, in Turtle Bay, some of the ground zero, if you will, of where the worst winds of Dorian when it came on shore. Again, that storm surge around 20 feet. That's a wall of water. So a lot of people don't understand storm surge. So it's basically when land and the ocean meet together and become one as the hurricane comes on shore. So such a scary scenario for those folks, and still scary to see Dorian on this trajectory. I talked about this yesterday, though. I know a lot of people are nervous. I understand. It's close to Florida, and everyone wants to know when the turn turn is going to happen. It's not forecast to happen until tomorrow. So there's going to be a lot of nervous people in watching this. So let me show you how far it is from West Palm Beach. It is due east by about 156 miles or so, headed straight towards a Grand Bahama Island. And again, looks like High Rock rather will be right in the fire of what Dorian has to unleash. So that those islands will of course bear the brunt of this hurricane. And then what happens after that, you guys, is up for question. But I am seeing some indications from the models here and what Dorian itself is doing, that it is starting to interact with some of the steering currents that the National Hurricane Center believes are going to help steer this thing. So there is some good news in all of this. Even though I know this looks pretty scary right now, there are some indications that Dorian is interacting with the lack of steering currents. It's slowed down even more today than it would. Bad for the Bahamas, but indications that it is interacting with the collapse of that ridge of high pressure. So that is a good thing. At least we're expecting that turn to happen because we're starting to see it interact with the lack of steering current. So we should start to see that a trough that's over the U.S. I've been talking about that a lot, and that should start to turn Dorian northward. But the $64,000 question is when does that happen, and how close does Dorian get? So another look there from the radar. Let me show you this one. Let me clear this out. Let's see, where am I? This really cool, and okay, so let me go back to our WSI machine. So some of the features that are an indication to me that I mentioned that this is starting to interact with the ridge of high pressure and the lack of the steering currents is that slow forward motion. And we're starting to see that trough in the U.S. I'm going to show it to you on water vapor. We're starting to see that also dip down towards the south. So indications that we should see a turn. But again, that turn is forecast tomorrow on Labor Day. So it's going to be a nervous couple of hours here. Many folks, of course, now getting out of town that we're going to try and shelter in place. This particular recon flight run had a flight level wind of 203 miles an hour. Now that was a 10-second wind. It doesn't qualify for an uptick in the winds because they have to last for 30 seconds. But I show you this because this has just been such an unprecedented hurricane. The only other time that we've seen one this powerful was Hurricane Patrice, or it may have been Patricia, I don't recall the name, but it was an extremely powerful hurricane like this. But to see one this powerful and this close to the U.S. is almost unprecedented. You know, it's only happened a handful of times. Pressure there, 910. There should be some breaks in the intensity because hurricanes of this size, they soak up all of that water. It's like a vacuum in the atmosphere. Basically, they're sucking all that energy into that inner core. So what happens is the Atlantic Ocean, there's upwelling, and that's when the colder Atlantic sea surface temperatures are drawn up to the north as the hurricane continues to cross over these shallow waters in the Bahamas. So some of that cooler sea surface temperatures are being upwelled or drawn up to the surface of the Atlantic, which should, in theory, help weaken a little bit Dorian. We certainly hope that's the case. It's a temporary bobble. It's not something that would sustain a long trend of weakening, but we'll also see some more interaction with the state of Florida, and that too should interrupt a little bit of the structure, but not that eye, but which is so well organized, and winds topped out at a whopping 185 miles an hour. The movement now even slower west at 5, which is the worst case scenario for the folks in the Bahamas. But again, lends the thinking that now that we've seen the system slow down, we should start to see that trough in the lower 48 Yeah, okay. I was just looking down. Someone said there's something about sound, but someone else is saying you can hear me. So if for some reason you can't hear me, let me know. But I'm trying to read your comments too. It looks like you guys still have me, so I'm going to keep going. So it still is going to be a matter of when we start to see this turn and hopefully see some interruption on the outer periphery of this hurricane. I'm not expecting this hurricane to leave its Category 5 status, and neither is the National Hurricane Center anytime soon. But here's the official path, and we talked about the trends last night. Remember, we're in this stage of the game, less than 72 hours, now potentially 48 hours or less of an impact across Florida. Now we can really get a fix on how it's interacting on the radar, how the trajectory is moving. We can really get a good look at that eye wall and see its inner structure, not just on infrared, but on radar. But the thinking is that this turn should happen sometime tomorrow. But unfortunately, because it's gotten a little larger in size as well, not only in scope, but in size. So there's two factors here. So when you talk about a hurricane that's getting stronger, people sometimes equate that to the size of the hurricane. So Andrew was a very, very small hurricane. That hurricane was only about 125 miles across. The core wind field was about, the eye wall itself was about 10 miles across. With this particular hurricane, the eye wall is about 15 miles across, so a little bigger, but we do see the hurricane wind field about 45 miles across, and then tropical storm force winds extend out from there. So we're definitely going to get a piece of Dorian across the state of Florida. How much is what has yet to be answered, and there are mandatory evacuations now in eastern central Florida because it's too close to call. So I know a lot of folks are probably now saying, wait, you told me I could stay, now I have to go, which is it? We really tried to focus in on this with you guys all this week, and I know other meteorologists around the state and around the country have been saying that just minor fluctuations in a hurricane this size, so close to the state of Florida, have major implications and could impact millions of people. So that's what we're seeing. We're certainly hoping that the turn happens before it gets closer to Florida, but because we're talking about slight nuances and just little nuances in the track could mean significant impacts to the eastern part of central and south Florida. So the storm surge at this point is estimated to be anywhere from 1 to 3 feet if it stays on its current trajectory. So remember, it's coming in from the south. We'd have much higher inundation and storm surge if it was coming in from a different vantage point. If it's if it was coming in into the Carolinas, I'm worried about you guys because I think your inundation and storm surge is going to be higher than it would be here in Florida potentially. It depends on how close Dorian gets, but for now the inundation and storm surge expected anywhere from 1 to 3 feet, maybe 5 feet in some of those. The St. Johns River is an area that really can get a big pull from the storm surge, so that's what we'll have to wait and see. But on average, 1 to 3, 2 to 5 is what we're expecting. So the hurricane warnings, of course, all of northwestern Bahamas under that. With the hurricane watch is pretty much from Brevard County southward to the Martin County line. Then we have a tropical storm warning in the areas you see shaded in purple. Lake Okeechobee under a tropical storm watch. That does happen because they get a surge as well at the lake, which is a big concern as well. But with this current setup, and if Dorian continues to pull towards the north, there would be somewhat minimal impacts for the lake, but we definitely have to watch that. And then there's also tropical storm watches south of where the tropical storm warnings are. Okay, so our GFS modeling, we've been using this for 10 days now. You can see how the core wind field stays off the coast of central Florida, but some of the hurricane force winds do encroach parts of Brevard County and up into Volusia County and down into Martin and St. Lucie counties. And we see some of this sustained winds in the interior parts of central Florida and South Florida in the neighborhood of tropical storm strength. So my little guide over here showing Orlando could have sustained winds around 30 miles an hour. That's not a big deal for a state that gets severe thunderstorms daily in the summer. Daytona Beach about 46, Palm Bay 40. The bigger concern, of course, will be along the immediate coast. So a lot of folks that have been reaching out to me on social media and have been concerned about what to do in interior Florida. I always try and remind people that interior states, not just Florida, but in particular Florida, because it's a peninsula and it's narrow. The further away that you get from the coast, the safer you are. A lot of people see a hurricane like this and think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get hurricane force winds in Orlando or Tampa or another, somewhere that's not near the center. The maximum wind, those catastrophic winds of 185 are isolated in that northeastern quadrant. As you pull away from that, and we're going to be on the weaker side, the state of Florida will be on the weaker side of the hurricane. I'm not minimizing a Category 5, but I'm trying to explain some of the physics involved with this type of system. So as you pull away from the center of that and extrapolate the wind field, it obviously goes down. So I would anticipate on this particular scenario, and there are tropical storm watches up for the interior part of the state, that we should see sustained winds in the neighborhood of 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. And then as you get closer to the beach, closer to the center, your winds are ramping up to around hurricane force strength. So that's where we're talking about Cat 1, maybe Cat 2. That will still have that nuance. Whether you're going to get Cat 1 wind or a Cat 2 wind is yet to be determined, because we've got to wait and see when the turn happens, how close it gets to Florida. So that's why the mandatory evacuations are already in place. I believe that starts tomorrow for a lot of the counties across the coast, because again, a lot of folks were thinking they weren't going to have to evacuate. This is how it goes when you have a hurricane that doesn't perform as forecast initially. So we had a couple of bobbles with this hurricane. One, the hurricane center reformed south of Puerto Rico several days ago. That changed all of the modeling guidance, and it took a couple of days for the models to get a fix on that again and to get a path that was consistently showing a general west to northwesterly movement. Then just a couple of days ago, we started to see that the ridge of high pressure that we've been talking about will be breaking down. And that, too, is something that the models have a hard time initializing on. And that's why we've seen such discrepancy. I want to talk about risks real quick as well, because I know surfers make a beeline to the beaches, and that's the last thing they need to be doing when there's a hurricane of this size. But I want you guys to know that there will be high surf advisories, and seas 7 to 10 feet are expected across a lot of the coastline of Florida, and it looks like dangerous boating conditions through the week, as well as really dangerous rip currents. We get more rip current rescues in Volusia County, which is where Daytona Beach is, than anywhere in the United States. And that's when there's not a hurricane coming. So please don't try to head to the beach and get the video that's going to go viral, because it's very dangerous over there. There's mandatory evacuations starting, and it's just not the place you want to go. Okay, so here's a look at the water vapor. This shows the amount of water content, in the atmosphere. So we've been talking about this and the steering patterns. I'm actually, this high pressure center here really isn't a player anymore. That's in the Gulf. So we're going to, I'll have to, let me see if, I don't think I can delete it, but on this, but I will the next run. So this ridge, the Bermuda High, is the big driver, and then we've got this trough that's digging down across the central U.S. So this trough, think of it as like a big bulldozer in the atmosphere. So it's pushing towards the eastern U.S., and it's going to help. Here comes Dorian, and here comes this big bulldozer. And as that happens, we're going to kind of see this presentation. So let me draw that out for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But it is a powerful steering mechanism that we'll see happen. So Dorian, okay, so here comes this guy. It's going to be coming down digging down towards the southeastern U.S. And then here is Dorian. And it's going to, and this system, one thing about hurricanes, they don't like to interact with differing pressure centers. So Dorian, in reaction to this trough coming down further south, is saying, okay, I'm getting out of here. I don't like this. So we're going to start to see this trend up towards the north. But and then we've got our ridge here, which has also got this flow, which should help channel this, the Dorian should get in this channel here and start turning towards the north. And the guidance is tightly clustered on this scenario happening. This is not the first time we've had a major hurricane plowing towards Florida and it's turned. It's scary, I know it, but all the guidance indicates that this will happen. It's just a matter of how close it gets. And the fact that this is such a powerful hurricane, never seen one this strong, off the coast of the Bahamas, I know is intimidating. You know, a lot of talk has been about Andrew and the Andrew scenario. This is not an Andrew in terms of it taking a sharp left towards the state of Florida. In the guidance that we have right now, none of the solutions take it as a hard left over to Florida. In the current thinking we have in front of us with the guidance that I just showed you with the water vapor, there's a lot of consensus here in the models that this is going to take that turn, but because Dorian has slowed down, it's going to nudge closer and closer to Florida very slowly. And so the timing of this turn, of course, no more critical in any hurricane that I can remember in recent history and recent memory, certainly that I've been covering, that the timing of that turn is so critical. So here's a look at the wind product. So things are going to start to go to south and literally go south in South Florida starting tomorrow. The winds are going to start picking up, and then we'll start to see that mostly through parts of eastern central Florida, eastern North Florida. As you head further away from the Atlantic, the impacts are going to lessen. Of obviously, the west side of the state is going to have a lesser effect than, of course, the coast. All of the intense winds will be at the coast. And then we've also got what happens to the Carolinas and Georgia after this. Again, modeling indicating that we could try and keep this hurricane offshore, which would be the best scenario for everybody, hands down. So that's what we're hoping, and I'm really I'm hoping like you, like everybody else, that's what happens until we get to the turn. I know it's intimidating to see this type of a hurricane come in so close to the state of Florida after we've seen what it's done to the Bahamas, and that's why, again, everybody needs to get ready. That's in the state of Florida. Hopefully, you've had days to watch it. I'm hoping folks have gotten ready. And it looks like a couple people, may have gone back to their homes that were at the coast. And I know there's mandatory evacs now. And I know there's a lot of frustration. I get it. I would be upset if I lived at the coast and I was told to, and you left because you were trying to be proactive. And then you went back to your home because you didn't think it was coming. And then to find out you have to leave again. I get the frustration. The official word didn't come until today, but I know a lot of folks have been through a lot of hurricanes. Florida's a pretty hurricane weary state right now. We've had a lot of hurricanes the last couple of years, and a lot of people were smart to prepare early, but it looks like we're really going to have to deal with this. So here's a look at the models, and some of them kind of bend there. You see that bending back towards Brevard County, towards eastern central Florida. Most of the consensus guidance, again, keeping that deflection away from Florida. I'm pretty confident that we're going to see this turn based on what I'm seeing already in the atmosphere, that Dorian has slowed down, which is, again, the worst case for the Bahamas, but I'm starting to see that trough get closer. I pointed out that trough out on the water vapor. I'm starting to see it get dig down a little deeper, and that's all good things in terms of steering Dorian away. So the key messaging that the Hurricane Center, this is their words, not mine. A lot of folks say we're doom and gloom, but this is real stuff, guys. There is a threat of life-threatening storm surge along parts of the east coast of Florida. So remember, the storm surge in the Bahamas was about 20 feet. So it won't be extrapolated that high across parts of Florida. Maybe 8 to 10, 12 to 14. That part still has to be played out. Tides will play a role in that, but there could be a prolonged event of dealing with storm surge. Storm surge does not travel inland. If you are not along an eastern coastal county, you will not have to worry about storm surge. Storm surge is only for people that live along the coast in any state. But in this case, we're talking about, of course, central and south Florida. And I showed you that storm surge map. So it's pretty much from Indian River up into Brevard County is the biggest threat for that storm surge. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, still very much under a serious threat of what Dorian will potentially bring down the road. Modeling indicates a turn, but again, you all are going to be under the same fire, if you will, that Florida is, because the timing of the turn of Dorian is going to be the key player of how much the Carolinas get and how much Georgia gets. So preparations still need to be in earnest. I know they are. I know folks are prepping up there too. But again, just a slight deviation, even a 20-mile jog of that eye could severely change the impacts across the state of Florida. So it's so close to call. There is no way that you can't prepare for the worst case scenario, because that's what you need to be doing if you're living in the coastal areas of Florida and even inland. You need to be preparing for what could happen. And we also see on the southwest quadrant of hurricanes, we often see a tornado spin up. So I wouldn't be ruling those out either as we head into the next couple of days. All right, let me show you, or probably Tuesday, Wednesday would be the biggest risk. Show you the look at the wind scale, Cat 1s. Most homes in the state of Florida and most homes in the U.S. are required to have building codes that can withstand Category 1, Category 2 winds. State of Florida requires Category 3 winds after Hurricane Andrew. So most homes in the state of Florida should structurally be fine. That doesn't mean that there won't be extensive damage, especially if Dorian gets very close to some of these barrier islands in Brevard County or gets very close to Indian River County. In terms of structural damage in the interior parts of the state, state. I am not anticipating that at this stage in the game. Again, the fact that a tropical storm watch has been issued for inland counties lends the thinking, at least for now, that we're going to get winds topped out at 60, 65 miles an hour. And certainly the state has seen higher winds than that with Irma that moved up the state, Hurricane Charlie that moved up the state. So I think at this point, the interior and western parts of the state should be okay in terms of extensive damage. I am a little concerned about power outages, especially along the coastal areas of Florida, where that's going to be a big problem. Again, Category 4 and 5 winds are catastrophic damage. That's what we've seen in the Bahamas. If the core wind field of Dorian stays off the coast, that's going to be all the difference there, you guys, because if we see it come inland, then we're really talking about a life-threatening situation to the state of Florida. If it stays just off the coast, it's a much, much different scenario. Still serious, still talking about damage, but that is the number one scenario we want to happen, is for this thing to stay off the coast of Florida. All right, let me show the infrared one more time, and then I'm going to see if I have any questions I can answer for you guys. Okay, so let's see, Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm glad to hear you guys are getting ready. Good job. You guys need to be doing that for sure. Let's see. If you have a specific city, but at this stage in the game, because we're less than 48 hours, a lot of you guys should be getting information from your local officials and the tropical storm watches. Oh yeah, let me show you that real quick. One more time, because this is new as of 5 o'clock. So again, tropical storm watches are the areas that you see shaded in this brown. Oh, Elizabeth City, hey, I've been there. You guys should be okay. You're western North Carolina. Again, check back, because we really aren't sure what the timing of this second turn with Dorian kind of hugging the topography of the United States, or the, not the topography, the coastal area of the southeastern U.S. So that's yet to be determined. But guidance indication is that it should continue to turn north and move faster. So that's something I talked about yesterday. Wilmington, boy, yeah, you guys are potentially in a serious situation, because you're a barrier island as well, and I think you're close to the barriers, and I think that you're going to be dealing with a really nasty storm surge based on the trajectory that this hurricane will be coming in at. So that storm surge, I think, will be higher than what Florida will get, but it's still too early to say. I'm not sure how high the storm surge is going to come in with Florida, again, because we're going to be on the left side, and the storm surge is much higher on the northeastern quadrant, whatever landmass it goes over. So we're still going to get a surge, but I think most of the surge shouldn't be, certainly not 20 feet, but it could be higher than 3 feet, which is what the official forecast is calling. Anywhere from 3 to 6 feet is what the official forecast is calling for. Okay, again, the hurricane warnings up for Brevard County and parts of Indian River County as well, in the event that Dorian doesn't turn as quickly as is forecast. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm just scrolling through here real quick. I answered North Carolina. And again, the interior parts of the state, I'm hoping you guys understand that too, that if we're still dealing with this scenario tomorrow, and we start to see that turn tomorrow, once you hear a forecaster, and whether it's me or Mike or whoever, Stephanie, by the way, Labra, I got to give a shout out to her. She's doing Spanish updates on our Facebook pages and on social media, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. So if you prefer to hear updates in Spanish, please head over to one of our social media pages, and you can get an update from her in Spanish. Okay, I forgot what I was saying, but anyway, at the turn. So when we start to see that turn north, that pull north, then we've starting to see that trend where we can maybe relax a bit, take a step back, and maybe take a breath. I know until that happens, it's going to be a very nervous time for people. Just know that we will continue to give you updates as often as we can in the app, on social media, online. We'll be here to answer questions for you all. And all of the guidance is indicating this turn will happen. I see it in the water vapor. I hope I showed it to you where you could understand it, where the trough is digging in, and that trough should come down and be the big bulldozer that helps turn Dorian north. So I'm glad that I see it on the water vapor. It makes me feel a lot better, but I certainly want the turn to happen just as much as you do. But the fact that it's slowed down even more means that turn could be delayed a little longer tomorrow. And so that's what we have to wait and see. All right, you guys, that'll do it for now. I'm going to go ahead and jump on YouTube and get an update on Twitter and some of our other pages. We'll have an update in the app as well. We'll have these updates every couple of hours. And I think that's it. If we have anything that dramatically changes, we won't get a new path until 11 p.m. So don't expect any big changes in warnings and watches. The National Hurricane Center generally doesn't do big sweeping changes like that unless we're in the full suites, which are the full updates, which is the 5 a.m., the 11 a.m., the 5 p.m. and the 11 p.m. So I wouldn't anticipate to hear an additional change of the watches or warnings. They have done it. I'm not saying they don't, but generally they save those for the big updates. So we'll see. But if it does, we'll let you know. All right, you guys, it's going to do it for now. Let me show you our social media handles so you can make sure you can find us not just on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at MyRadarWex, Instagram MyRadar. I've got some things on the MyRadar info page. I've been putting in our IGTV channel some of the forecasting there, so you can check those out. I haven't done that in the last day or so, but you can also get all of our updates on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, you guys. We'd love to get you there and get you some information as well. All right, that'll do it. I'll be back here in a couple hours. Thanks for watching.